All right, so we'll get started on SwitchLug. So, tell us what is a SwitchLug?
All right, so a SwitchLug is a barrel retention device. That's the fancy way of saying it's a clamp that holds a barrel in the receiver and keeps it from backing out and getting loose.
Okay.
What it does is it allows a guy the ability to take one action, one stock or chassis, one optic, and change the capabilities of that rifle by having user interchangeable barrels. So
Okay.
he can take one gun and he can have that as a heavy PRS match gun, a NRL hunter gun, an actual hunting rifle if he wants, believe it or not.
Yeah.
People do hunt with their hunter rifles sometimes. So that's what it allows you to do. I mean, you get a lot of capabilities from it. It is, strictly speaking, a clamp system, or depending on the action and the type of SwitchLug, it's a clamp system and a recoil absorbing device, a recoil lug, if you will, that also retains your barrel in place. So it doesn't do away with the action threads. Your barrel still screws into your action just like it would on any normal gun. The barrel still has a torque shoulder, so the barrel tightens up and shoulders up and comes to a hard stop, comes to the same place in the action every time.
Okay.
That's something that differentiates it a lot, and when we first designed it and released it to market, that was one of the questions that we got a lot, because people had seen, a barrel nut system before,
Mm-hmm.
A Rimage or a Savage
Right.
type nut, and the constant thing was do I need headspace gauges? Do I need to reset my headspace every time I put a barrel in this? No, because this is still a shoulder barrel. This screws into the receiver. The only difference is the torque shoulder on the barrel is now shouldering up against the face of the lug rather than the face of the action. And so your headspace repeats every time. When you put a barrel on, if you screw that barrel back into the same place every time, your headspace is the same. You're not resetting your headspace. Nothing alters your headspace. It's always the same point. That makes it a very repeatable system. When you're taking a barrel on and putting it back on again, that barrel holds its own zero. So it will repeat its zero within plus or minus a half minute is what we put as a tolerance. If we pull this barrel off of this rifle and it's 0 to 100 yards, we should be able to screw that barrel back into this receiver, retorque the SwitchLug, and we should still be zeroed within plus or minus a half a minute.
That's awesome. That was maybe one of the things I asked was, so what, so that having that barrel come off and back on, how about, what would you say, if we were to take this from a saw to like a 6.5 Creedmoor, what kind of offset do you generally see, like switching cartridges and
so offsets are a
like
weird
that?
thing. A lot of guys at first thought, they think that their offset is going to be caliber specific. So they think, hey, I'm going from a slow cartridge to a fast cartridge. This is going to shoot different in elevation. Honestly, offset has more to do with that individual barrel.
Okay.
So most of the time it's differences in that particular barrel blank. General offsets that you see, most barrels will all shoot somewhere within about 1 mil of each other in point of impact. So 3.5, 4 MOA. There's a few that'll step out from that, and generally your outliers are going to be when you drastically change the construction of a barrel. So let's say we go from a 20-inch super lightweight carbon fiber to a 26-inch MTU.
Gotcha.
That may change quite a bit because there's a significant difference in barrel weight and length,
Mm-hmm.
and they may change a good bit. On my rifles, so like my NRL hunter gun, I've got a 26-inch saw barrel on it. I also have a 25-inch M40 Contour 6 Creedmoor barrel.
Okay.
I shoot that 6 Creed. I'll probably shoot that at Box Canyon more than likely.
Okay.
Because I don't have to load for it. And that's where I'm at. I have a little bit more money than time. Not by much, but I'm getting there. Anyway, between those two barrels, so if I shoot that 6 Creed, that M40 Contour 6 Creed with a suppressor on it, versus that carbon barrel with a brake on it, between those two barrels, the 6 Creed shoots 2.5 inches high. It has no windage shift. It goes straight up.
Okay.
Now that's not every barrel.
Right.
Most barrels will have a windage shift and an elevation shift between barrel to barrel. That one works out really lucky.
Okay.
It's a straight up shift, and all you do is tell your Kestrel that you have a 0 offset. You don't even change your turrets. That's best case scenario.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, you've got 0.8 of a mil left or right, and you've got 3 or 4/10 high or low. Generally, we do a lot of multi-barrel sets, and so what we typically do if we're doing a rifle with multiple barrels, whichever barrel shoots the lowest, that's the one we use as a 0 point on our turret.
Okay.
And then when we go to our next barrel, you're dialing up and you're not resetting a 0 stop. Or you're just telling your Kestrel, depending on how much it is, you're telling it that you have a 0 offset, and you may only change your windage setting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking, worst case scenario, you go from your hunting setup to a match setup and you take it out and just throw a piece of paper up or something,
Mm-hmm.
You're still...
You're always going to be on the same piece of paper. Like you're never going to have a barrel on here that you put up a 12 by 12 target at 100 and you shoot the next berm over. Like, no, if you had an issue like that, you have an alignment problem in that barrel or in that action, or you didn't put it on right. It's amazing how often, and this is just kind of an interesting thing from shooting a couple hundred different rifles a year. I've got scopes that are just test scopes. They just sit in the test room. If we're going to send a rifle out the door that we're not furnishing an optic for, when we go to test fire that rifle, we're going to throw one of these shop scopes on. When we're looking at our actions, whether it's our Caprock or let's say it's an Impact 737, Zermatt TL3, any of these actions that are built on a similar footprint that have the same amount of cant built into the rail, so those are all 20-minute cant rails, you almost never have to drastically change your turrets.
That's awesome.
Like across all of those rifles, they're pretty well all going to shoot within about 3 MOA of each other when you put that scope on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed that.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. It's one of those things that's a testament to how good our action manufacturers are, how good our ring makers are today. The guys that are in this industry producing parts, it's not because we're magical rifle builders. We're good builders and we put our heart and soul into this, but there's a whole bunch of guys that do.
Right.
The components that we're getting to use today are light years ahead of what people could build on in, say, 2009.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, I don't know if you have one in mind, but what's been your favorite SwitchLug setup that you've done?
Oh, like rifle setup?
Yeah, like
Okay.
like someone either did something crazy or drastic change or favorite cartridge combo.
Man, that's a hard one to answer. Because it runs the gamut.
Right.
It's so varied in what you can do. This is pretty recent, but honestly, a 6-arc bolt gun, like a little short 6-arc barrel, and then pair that with a 7 saw or a 6.5 PRC on the top as a hunting cartridge. That's pretty cool.
That's like,
yeah, it's uber fun to shoot. We've got a customer, guy named Mark, that we built a rifle for years ago. Built some rifles for his buddies, and he did a TL3 action, and I think he did either a 204 Ruger or a 223 on the small end, and he went from there up to I think 7 SAUM on this one rifle. Ended up with like 6 or 7 barrels. I mean, and just literally had every base covered. And to me, that was really cool.
That is awesome. So that's what I was gonna say. So like I have one on a TL3, and so like I liked it because I can do the interchangeable bolt heads.
Yeah.
I'm doing a 223 barrel for me right now. When I shoot out the other 6.5 PRC barrel, because I didn't have this gun at the time, I want to have a 6.5 PRC done for that one, and just being able to literally go from.
Oh yeah.
I mean, anything. I mean, and I want to do the 223 barrel is going to end up being my trainer.
Sure.
For PRS, and I don't know. I just think it's when I was telling Doug and Sloan when I got mine, y'all had the 22 GT barrel on it, and I was getting ready to break it in the dasher, and I hadn't messed with it yet.
Yeah.
And I had a million things going on in the morning. I was trying to get all this stuff. I was headed here, and undid it, threaded it off, went and grabbed the other barrel, and I was sitting there thinking of what I needed to do, and then I torqued it back, and I was like, that was one of the coolest things I've ever done with a gun. And I know y'all do it every day, but like for us normal folks, it was such a cool thought to be able, like, within a minute to completely change everything.
Yeah, just reconfigure it. I would say, this is one that I don't know that it's my favorite build, but it's one that's really cool to me. So we have a rifle. It's actually serial number 1 of the Caprock series, right? And it'll go in the museum one of these days. But it's a Manor CS stock, little bitty collapsible CS. We put a full-length Arca rail in the front of it. That gun, we have a 22-inch carbon fiber saw barrel on it, and it'll also take that same 25-inch MTU 6 Creedmoor. Now you think about it and you're like, okay, why would a guy put a freaking 25-inch MTU contour 6 Creed on a CS stock? Well, it's because I've got a 10-year-old boy and an 8-year-old boy. And so that one rifle lives with us through about October. It goes in the pickup. And it lives in the pickup from October till the end of youth deer season in January. And it kills everything that we see. Both kids hunt with it. If I go hunting, I shoot it. The 3 of us share that gun for 3 months out of the year, 4 months out of the year. And then we throw that big monster 6 Creed barrel on it, and we go shoot youth PRS matches. And so, is that my favorite build or the coolest build? No, but that one's got the memories in it. And that one's pretty fun because of the mileage that gets put on that gun,
That is really cool.
It's pretty awesome to be able to throw a rifle across your back and know, hey, I could take this on an elk hunt, and I could strap this to the side of this pack while I'm packing out quarters, but I could hand this to my son, and he's going to shoot his first match with it, and he did. So that's pretty cool.
That is awesome. I think that speaks a lot more than I can switch to a bigger caliber.
Yeah,
I think that I'm sentimental. I think the family stuff is
it's pretty cool. It's a neat thing to do. It's not all about how big of a cartridge can I shoot. It's what are the memories going to be that get made with that gun.
Yeah.
And that changes.
Yes. Okay, so last thing, so you mentioned a lot of different actions that y'all have done, and actually, just real quick, can you touch on what the Caprock is, what y'all's action is?
Yeah, sure. So we have 2 actions that we build off of on our own rifles. So if you call us up and go, hey, I want to build this rifle with y'all from the ground up. I want a West Texas Ordnance gun. I want y'all to furnish every part of it. In most cases, we're going to build off of either our Claymore action, which is going to be a round-bodied action, integrated recoil lug built as part of the action body, pinned and screwed scope bases on top.
Okay.
1-piece bolt.
Okay.
Caprock action is going to be same bolt design, same integrated recoil lug as part of the action body, but the scope bases are going to be machined into that body as well.
Okay.
So the Caprocks are going to be an alpine cut over the top. They can be configured in most cases, especially on long action rifles. They can be configured as a BDL setup, with a hinged floor plate or a detachable mag. But you've got the ability, you've got that really rigid scope mounting system, which I think is a great thing. I'm not against rifles where you screw on scope bases or rings. They work great,
right,
just fine. The nice thing about that is, especially for guys who are going to travel with their rifles, it's very easy to pull that scope off of that gun and maintain a little more positive control of your scope when you're traveling.
Okay.
Or just use a different scope. I mean, we have customers. This is a good spot to be in life, I would say. But we have guys who have scopes matched to their barrels. So I've got a Collis 3-18 in my saw barrel.
Okay.
I'm gonna go throw on my 223, and I'm gonna put on my Swaro Z8 2-16 for shooting coyotes at night.
Freaking rifle goals.
Life goals right there, buddy. Yeah.
That's funny.
We have guys that have multiple optics and QD mounts, and hey, that's zeroed for this barrel. And
That is actually really cool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, it does well for them. So.
Okay, and so can y'all do the SwitchLug on any action or any Remington clone action?
Almost.
Okay.
Almost. So there's quite a few different models of the SwitchLug itself. So if you go on our website and go to the SwitchLug product page,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to find a lot of options because
Okay.
we build them for a lot of different actions. When we designed the product, we were actually using Stiller as an OEM.
Okay.
So our actions matched like the Stiller TAC 30 and Predator style recoil lug system.
Okay.
So the first SwitchLug we designed was designed around that Stiller recoil lug pinhole spacing. And so
Okay.
we use that. That's what we call the standard SwitchLug. You can still buy it today. It's a drop-in fit to a Stiller action, and that's what we use if we're going to go to a straight Remington 700, if we're going to retrofit a factory Remington action.
Okay.
Since then, of course, the trend in custom actions in a large part is going towards actions that have an integrated recoil lug as part of the action body.
Mm-hmm.
So we came out with what we call the IL SwitchLug. And that's a SwitchLug for an integrated lug action.
Okay.
And it has no recoil bearing surface on the bottom of it. It really looks like a ring. It pins to the face of the action. So most actions out there on the market today that use a pinned recoil lug, we've probably got a SwitchLug that's a direct fit for that.
Okay.
And if it's an action that has an integrated recoil lug as part of the receiver body, then we're probably going to use the IL for that. And all it requires for use is we've got to drill those index pin holes in the face of the action.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward. That covers just about every custom action you can work with. We also have a SwitchLug model for the Tika T3 that's specific to the Tika action.
Okay.
That's a great action to work off of.
Yeah, I didn't realize y'all had that one.
We do, and it's it works very well on that platform. The Tika's gained a lot of popularity because it's a really well-built action. It's very user serviceable in a lot of ways, and it's fairly light. So we see a lot of guys build some really cool hunting rifles off of that Tika action. So we offer the lug for that too.
Okay, I'm gonna double check this real quick.
Make sure you run out.
Cause we're about to.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, we're good.
We're good.
And then so short action, long action, no problem.
No problem.
And you just did a 338 action.
Yes, we did.
Was that the first one?
No.
Okay.
No, so we've done 338s for a long time. That's a common question we have is how big of a cartridge can I put in this? Well, it really depends on action size. We've done a ton, talking about cool builds, this is always cool to me. We've done quite a few big bore calibers. So 375 H&H, 338 Lapua, 300 Norma, these kind of things. What really determines it is the thread tenon size that the action's going to take.
Okay.
So most of your Remington pattern actions are going to use a 1 1/16 inch diameter tenon thread.
Okay.
A SwitchLug will accommodate any barrel tenon that's 1 1/16 inch diameter. Where you kind of get into a different area is when you get into some of the Lapua sized actions that use a larger thread tenon.
Okay.
So one of the rifles we did, and this is probably what you're thinking about, we just did a 338 Lapua that was a Stiller TAC 338
Yeah.
action. Well, the TAC 338 uses 1 1/8 inch thread tenon.
Okay.
So it's about 62 thousandths larger in diameter. So that was the first one we've done on a TAC 338 action. We
Gotcha.
do have a bigger bore SwitchLug coming out to cater to those guys who are running an action with that big thread tenon. So that'll cover things like a Stiller TAC 338. You can put it on a Surgeon 1581 XL.
Okay.
They have a big tank action for 338 Lapua that's phenomenal. It's great action, weighs about 82 pounds. It's really cool. But it's adaptable to that.
Okay.
That'll also work with, I think it'll work with some of the bat actions. Trying to think who else. There's several out there that use that larger tenon, and so we're working to bring something to market to cater to that too.
Okay.
That opens up a few doors as far as some of the what I would consider lighter ELR cartridges.
Right.
And that doesn't get you into 460 styro territory, but it gets you above a 338 for sure.
So I have to ask on that. when I get ready to do a 375 shot tack build, can we look at that?
I don't want to talk to you. We have had that question. I'll put it this way. Somewhere in the back of the mind, it's still rolling around. We're not going to say
valid.
no.
That's valid.
We're not going to say no, just not today.
So when I want to be able to go from a 375 back to my 308, we're going to be able to do that?
You sure are. You're going to build a couple of rifles. Yeah.
Okay.
I was having a conversation with a friend today, and we were just talking about funny gun stories that you get. And he had a dude call him wanting desperately to build a big long action, probably 300 Norma or something, freaking tank rifle for 94 CLR. But he wanted to be able to go down to 223 for training. And that's a no-go.
Yeah. That's all that. I mean, I'm stoked to be able to go from a short action Magnum to a 223.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
kind of it. Yeah.
There's
a point where, and this is generally what we see when we start looking at bigger cartridges. You get to a point where the actual employment of the rifle is different, and you need a different gun.
Yeah, as I say, you're gonna be switching it. I mean,
just because you can have more than one barrel doesn't mean that's always the answer.
Yeah, I wouldn't set my 338 the same as I'm gonna set my 223.
Absolutely not. Yeah, definitely not.
That's valid. Okay, so kind of like wrapping up, we did on the other one. Tell people where they can find information on the SwitchLug if they want to get one built.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, and sorry, before you get on that, I didn't even think, if they have other rifle builders or anything like that, is the SwitchLug available to purchase?
Yes.
They want to go that route?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So, you can purchase a SwitchLug as a standalone part.
Okay.
Your gun builder can buy it. If you have a reputable gunsmith who knows how to properly operate things, which he should be if he's building a rifle for you,
Right.
he can install a SwitchLug.
Okay.
Installation instructions are on our website. You go to the SwitchLug product page, you can download them, you can print them out. We can send you a copy of them that has the dimensions, the hole locations, the things you need to know to install it properly.
Okay.
It's not a complicated installation. Anybody who has the ability to turn a normal barrel can turn a barrel for a SwitchLug too.
Okay.
It's one of those things. There's no magic sauce in it. It's a simple design that's reliable. As far as where you can find it, obviously you can go to our website, westtexordnance.com.
Okay.
Find us on Facebook, West Texas Ordnance, Instagram, we're on there for whatever the handle is. I don't know these things.
West Texas Ordnance with the underscores.
With underscores.
There we go.
At least you know.
Yeah.
So we're easy to find. You can always hit the Google button.
The thing that drives me nuts, and I don't know if it's I don't think it's a username issue. I think it's a Instagram ghost whatever.
Yeah.
But I have to physically type out every, like when I'm tagging you all and stuff,
Yeah.
I have to write out West _ Texas _ and then when I get to the second N in Ordnance, it'll finally pull it up, and I'm just like, big tech at its freaking finest.
Oh yeah, that's great. I got flagged by Facebook today for a picture of a proof research barrel. I violated the community guidelines. I am a violator.
I tested it a little bit a couple days ago just to see if I would get tagged, and what was it? I posted a picture of a Dasher, a 6.5 Creedmoor, and a 300 PRC, and it just said, like, which one are you choosing?
Yeah.
And someone commented on, like, well, what are we hunting? And I said, dude, you pick whitetail, T-Rex, corrupt, and then like cut it off and said steel targets, and I was like, I wanted to see how much
how far you go with this.
Yeah, and I had politicians spelled out more, and I backed it up a little bit, and I was like, but I'm still on Facebook, so.
You're there. You're better than me.
It worked. So okay, awesome. I greatly appreciate it. And if you do want a SwitchLug, it is the most freaking useful thing I've ever put on a rifle. Like, legitimately, and
It's pretty serious, man.
It's dummy proof enough that I can use it when I'm stressed and thinking about other things. So
It's you know, the return to zero thing is always a big question that people have. I think it was the 2016 PRS finale. This was before we took to market, so we were still beta testing, if you will. Like, we had them built. I had one on my rifle. We were running it to see if it would work. I go up to a stage at the end of day one, and my sling broke. So it was a stage you had to carry all your gear, you had to run up this little hill, and then you shot. I throw all my stuff on my back to walk up to the stage, and my sling breaks, and down goes my rifle, like barrel first into the ground. And I'm like, crap, what do I do now? So I pulled that barrel off right there. Took the barrel off, checked the barrel, made sure it still looked visually straight, you know, like I landed on a rock, and put it back on, shot the rest of the match. Never re-zeroed the gun, nothing, stayed there. And it, you know, it held zero, went right back to where it was zeroed, and
that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, shot. And I think the last target on day two, you know, we had a 1,510 yard target and still tagged 15 at it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. After that, we felt like, okay, if it survives Clayton, it can go to market. Because if something can be broken, I'm the guy who's going to tear it up.
Well, it's Marines, right?
That's it.
Y'all are kind of known for it.
That's it.